Good day, everyone. How are you today? I hope you are doing well. By the way, I am Michelle C. Luna. Together with me is Mr. Jerson and Lozano to discuss about historical fiction. In this discussion, we will be able to know what is a historical fiction and its example. So without further ado, let's delve deeper into the discussion. First, let's discuss what is a historical fiction. A historical fiction is a literary genre in which a fictional plot takes place in the setting of a particular real-life events. Writers of historical fiction aim to immerse readers in a specific period. It brings to life a time and place with carefully researched details about the setting, culture, and social norms. While the main storyline and characters might be fictional, the backdrop and major events often align closely with actual history. Authors usually conduct extensive research to accurately depict the period's clothing, speech, social customs, and locations. Although some creative liberties may be taken, a sense of authenticity is important. Historical events, figures, and places are interwoven with fictional plots or characters. For example, a novel might center on an imaginary character living through World War II but include real-life battles or famous historical figures in supporting roles. Historical fiction often centers around a specific era, such as ancient Rome, the Victorian era, or the civil rights movement that offers a lens into the past from a present-day perspective. This genre frequently explores universal themes and human experiences, such as love, loss, courage, and injustice that often reflect on social issues from both the period in question and the author's contemporary time. Historical fiction is a way to understand history more personally and vividly as readers witness how historical events impact individuals in relatable human ways. Now, let's have a game. In this game, you have to guess the title by these corresponding illustrations. I'll give you 7 seconds to guess the title. Time's up! Yes, that's right. The title of the story is Number the Stars. So our story for today is Number the Stars by Lois Lowry. Number the Stars is a work of historical fiction by the American author Lois Lowry about the escape of the family of Jews from Copenhagen, Denmark during World War II. Now the characters of this story is first the protagonist, which is Anne-Marie Johansen, who lives in Copenhagen, Denmark with her father, mother, and her younger sister, Kirsty. Next is Ellen Rosen, which is a Jewish schoolmate and best friend of Anne, who is also an only child. Next, Mrs. Johansen. She is the mother of Anne, a strong and determined woman. Peter Nelson, fiancé of Liz Johansen, sister of Anne. Kirsten Johansen, Anne's younger sister, a feisty, chatty girl. Henrik. Henrik is Mrs. Johansen's younger brother, who is also a fisherman. Mr. Johansen, the father, a pillar of strength and also patriotic. Liz Johansen, the eldest Johansen daughter, who is dead already. The Rosens. Mrs. Rosen is Ellen's mother and Mrs. Johansen's friend. Mrs. Hirsch, a Jewish, the owner of the corner shop. Great Aunt Bertie, the fictional aunt whose fictional death is part of the plan to help Ellen, her family, and other Jews escape. Next is Blossom, which is Uncle Henrik's milk cow. And lastly, Thor, which is the kitten that Kirsty finds. So the setting of Number the Stars takes place in four. First, the streets of Copenhagen. Second, the Johansson's apartment. Third, Mrs. Hirsch's shop. And fourth, Hidden Boat. First is the streets of Copenhagen. The story begins on the streets of Copenhagen, the capital of Denmark. These streets are where Anne-Marie, her sister Kirsty, and her friend Ellen play and go about their daily routines. However, they're also watched closely by Nazi soldiers patrolling the area. Second is Johansson's apartment. Anne-Marie's family lives in a small apartment in Copenhagen. This is a safe and familiar place where Anne-Marie feels at ease. Third is Mrs. Hirsch's shop. Mrs. Hirsch owns a small shop in Copenhagen that sells button supplies. When Anne-Marie and her friend Ellen go to the shop, they learn that it is closed. It's because Mrs. Hirsch, a Jewish shop owner, was forced to close her business under Nazi orders. And lastly, the Hidden Boat. Now, the conflict of the story, Anne-Marie Johansson and her family face the challenge of helping their Jewish friends, the Rosens, escape to safety from the Nazis. In Number the Stars, the Johanssons' decision to help the Rosens, their Jewish friends, escape from Nazi-occupied Denmark is a conflict that drives the story forward. This conflict introduces several layers of tension and courage as Anne-Marie, her family, and their friends navigate the risks of resistance in the face of severe consequences from the Nazis. Now, I'll give the floor to Mr. Jerson and Lozano to discuss about it further.
Hi everyone, I am Jerson Lozano and I'll be continuing the report. I'll talk about the plot of Number the Stars. So, Number the Stars is told from the point of view of a 10-year-old Anne-Marie Johansson. The story is set in the city of Copenhagen, Denmark in September 1943, the third year of the Nazi occupation of Denmark. Anne-Marie and her best friend Ellen, who is Jewish, are stopped by soldiers on their way home from school. The two girls who go to the same school and live in the same building are unsettled by their first direct encounter with the Germans. Mrs. Johansson and Mrs. Rosen are concerned and ask the girls to take a new route to school. The encounter makes Anne-Marie reflect on what her father has taught her about Denmark and also about her older sister Liza's death a few years before the start of the novel. Later in the fall, Anne-Marie and her younger sister Kirsty discovers that Mrs. Hirsch's neighborhood shop has been closed. This event further alarms Mrs. Johansson, though Anne-Marie does not understand why. During a late-night visit from Peter Nielsen, a member of the resistance and the man Liz was to marry, Anne-Marie is told more about the war. Her parents and Peter explain that Jewish stores are being closed. The next day, the Rosens must flee. They leave Ellen with the Johanssons. During the night, German soldiers come to the apartment demanding that Mr. Johansson disclose the location of his friends. He refuses, and they search the apartment. Ellen pretends to be one of the Johansson's daughters, but her dark hair causes the soldier to be suspicious. Luckily, Mr. Johansson is able to show them a baby picture of Liz with dark hair, which convinces the soldiers. The next day, Mrs. Johansson takes the three girls to her brother Henrik's home in Galilehi, Denmark, where Henrik is a fisherman. They spend a peaceful day in the house by the ocean before Henrik announces that their great aunt Bertie has died. The service is to be held that evening. Anne Marie knows that no such aunt exists and demands the truth. Uncle Henrik explains the importance of not knowing too much when bravery is needed. That night, the coffin arrives and they gather around it. Many more people arrive, but all are silent. Soon, Peter appears in with the Rosens, who are reunited with Ellen. Soldiers drawn by the post-curfew lights come to the house. They demand that the coffin be opened. A problem since the coffin is empty. Mrs. Johnson thinks quickly and says that her aunt died of highly contagious typhus. The soldiers leave. Henrik takes the first group of people down to his boat. Mrs. Johansson follows the Rosens. Anne-Marie will now understand that the people are being taken to safety in Sweden awaits her mother's safe return. When her mother does not appear, she discovers that Mrs. Johansson has broken her ankle. Because of this, Anne-Marie must take an important package to her uncle before they can leave. On the way to the boat, soldiers with dogs stop her. They search her basket and discover the package. But when they ripped it open, it contains only a handkerchief, and they let her go. Anne-Marie makes it to the boat in time to Henrik's evident relief. That evening, Henrik is safe at home having dinner with Anne-Marie, Kirsty, and Mrs. Johansson, whose ankle has been taken care of by the local doctor. After dinner, Uncle Henrik takes Anne-Marie to learn how to milk the cow. They talk about the events of the day, explains that he did his passengers in the bottom of the boat, and the handkerchief was essential because it kept the Germans' dogs from smelling the human cargo. Uncle Henrik praises Anne-Marie for her bravery and reassures her that Ellen is safe and they will meet again someday. Eventually, the war ends in May, and Anne-Marie and her family watch from their balcony as people parade in the streets with the Danish flag. Anne-Marie thinks that of Rosens and realizes that they, along with all the others who were forced to flee, will soon be returning home. Peter Nelson has died. He was shot in a public square of his involvement in the resistance. Anne-Marie's parents tell her that Lise was a member of the resistance too, and that she did not die in an accident but was killed by the Germans. Thinking of Lise and of Ellen, Anne-Marie goes to the trunk of Lise's things in her room and takes out the Star of David pendant that she has been keeping for Ellen. She says she will wear the necklace herself until Ellen returns. So that's how the story ends. Anne-Marie is a brave girl who helped her friend, which is Ellen, and Ellen's family are called Rosens. So Anne-Marie helps the Rosens to escape to Sweden because Denmark is being occupied by the Nazis or the Germans. So Anne-Marie longs for Ellen in the end because she wants to be with Ellen again because she misses her best friend. So the mood of the story, let me define the mood first. The mood is what the readers feel about reading the story. So the mood of the story are tense and suspenseful because if you are in the situation of Anne-Marie, of course kalbaan di ba ka if naa kay gihambog gisugo ka na para maka-help sa imong friend na maka-escape sa Nazis, of course makulbaan ka kinsa bay dili makaulbaan di ba? So tense siya and suspenseful if madakpan ba si Anne-Marie or successful ba ang mission. But in the end successful yung mission, pero ang mood yun is tense and suspenseful. So now let's go on to the tone of the story. So the tone refers to the author's unsaon niya giunsa pag sulat sa author ang story. So pagkasulat sa author ang story is serious and reflective. That's why maka-feel good dayon ta na ang story is seryoso yun siya from the start to the end kay kuan biya siya historical fiction biya siya. And nahitabo begid siya na nahitabo man gid na di ba gisakop ang mga kuan sa Nazis sa mga Germans, di ba ang leader din kay si Hitler, di ba? So ang tone yun anda pagsulat ni Louis Lowry is serious and reflective. Kaya para mas ma-catch ang attention sa readers na maka-feel sila na connected sila sa story. Kaya ang story man good is dili siya mura siya og ano bitaw sa kuan pa buta mura siya kanang story na dili nimo siya pwede mabuyan na story, like gusto nimo siya humanon diretso sa isa ka basahan kay tsada kay ang story kung masakpan ba si Anne-Marie or dili or nana bitaw. So mo na siya ang tone, serious and reflective. Now let's go on to the themes of the story. There are 4 themes that I've listed here: the bravery, friendship, loyalty, and sacrifice. Of course, first, bravery. The bravery of the Johansson's family na gitago nila o gi-as if nila na anak si Ellen, which is Ellen is Jewish dakpono, 'di ba ang mga Jewish dakpononon sa mga Nazis. So ang bravery silang family na gilamo-lamo nila na anak si Ellen is mo gina siya ang theme. Tapos si Anne-Marie pod, of course, nag-show pod siya og bravery na gidala niya ang package to Uncle Henrik's boat na wala na siya nasakpan. Then we have the second theme of the story is friendship. The friendship of Anne-Marie and Ellen, o the friendship of Ellen's family, which is the Rosens, o friendship pod si sa Johansson's family, di ba? Makita gyud nato na that's what friends are for, di ba? Magtinabanga gyud ta if na sample ma-down ta or inana. So sa story is since dakpononon man sila Ellen and the Rosens family, so ang friendship yun is gitabangan nila ilang friends na maka-escape padulong sa Sweden, which is the safe haven na attacks sa Nazis. Next we have loyalty. Of course, loyalty kaya wala gyud niya gibetray si Ellen and her family. Anne-Marie and the Johanssons showed loyalty na kuan bitaw like i-save gyud nila ilang friend. Tapos sacrifice. Of course, they sacrifice. Sama ni Lies, which is the older sister ni Anne-Marie, 'di ba, namatay. Ang giingon sa story sa pinakaon na kay namatay daw sa accident, but later on na-realize na kaibawan ni Anne-Marie na wala dito namatay sa accident si Lies. Si Lies namatay siya kaya nag-appeal siya sa resistance. Ang resistance is mura bitaw katipunan na bitaw kuan ba sila ang naglaban. Murag Andres Bonifacio ba nagna bitaw. So naglaban siya, so namatay dadto si Lies. So muna siya ang sacrifice. Those are the themes of the story, but overall the theme of the story really is showing the bravery of Anne-Marie in facing all the adversities na bisag maput iyang life sa danger kay of course gitago niya ang si Ellen o ang family ni Ellen sa Nazis. Nag-show gyapon siya bravery, which is commendable kaayo kay siguro ang uban sa ato dili buhaton to kay mahadlok patyon madamay. So si Anne-Marie is bravery. So I hope kita pud tanan as future English educators brave pud ta, di ba? Next, okay. What do you think is the lesson of the novel? I'll give you a second or a moment to think. What do you think is the lesson or the moral of the novel? Okay, let me tell you the lesson of the novel that I get. So the story tells us that courage and compassion can overcome fear and oppression. It teaches the value of standing up for what is right, even when it is dangerous, and shows how small acts of kindness and bravery can make a significant difference in the lives of others. So Anne-Marie, kuan yun kayo si Anne-Marie, like siya atong paragon of bravery. Siya ang symbol sa bravery na bisag 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 nagkaunsa na ma-risk iyang life, i-save gyapon kaniya. Intay na nato ta natong friendship, di ba? Nanan ta atong friends tanan. I hope so. So that's the story. That's the end of our presentation of Number the Stars. So thank you everyone and have a good day.